Assassin's Creed Odyssey is much like Origins, and to save you some time, I honestly couldn't recommend you play Odyssey if you didn't like Origins. It doesn't do enough to change or convince new fans to come into the formula. However, if you did like Origins, or if you're optimistically curious whether or not to pick up Odyssey, then buckle in. To save you some more time in making it to the end of this video, I'll start off outright. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the best game in the franchise, and believe me, I didn't want to say that. I really thought that Origins was the absolute peak that this franchise was going to go, and all of the early reports claiming that Odyssey was just a retread or more of the same, that was sort of the terminology thrown around. I just sort of accepted that Odyssey will be another good Assassin's Creed romp, but it wouldn't top Egypt, but that is not the case. AC has now gone full RPG, even more so than what Origins did, and is set way before the Brotherhood was even a glint in old Bayek's eye. You play as either Alexios or Cassandra. You're the child of Leonidas, and you're a merc for hire. And that's about as much of the story as I'm going to go into, because I think the less that you know, then the better it is for you. And also because I've barely touched the main story, and I'm just over 30 hours deep into this. The Greek world has opened up to you after a fairly lengthy opening. Most players are claiming to average between 2 to 4 hours before finally getting their ship and setting off on their Odyssey. Did you see what I did there? The gameplay is much like its predecessor, with a huge open world to explore and locations to complete. Now, this type of game it's fucking heroin to me. I love it. I love like a tick list, essentially, of the Ubisoft games, running from place to place, 100% in each location, getting the loot, getting the XP, and just finishing every side quest possible before completing that overall area, or nation as it is in Odyssey. Now, this is the main reason why I've spent over 30 hours and I'm only on chapter 3 of the 9 in the main story. Now, I'm sure that most people don't play it this way, as I'm sure that you've heard the reports that this is a grind, this is a massive grind, this is what people are saying. You level up too slowly, there's not enough XP to go around basically, and there is an in-game store where microtransactions are, and you can buy XP boosters and track boosters to level you up faster. And people are arguing that the game is sort of built like its mechanics are molded around making you get those purchases. Now, I am going to go into the topic of microtransactions a bit later on in the video, but from now I can sort of wholeheartedly say I've not really felt the grind aspect to it. I can completely understand it, and I can totally see where people are coming from with the grind, but frankly, from my personal experience with the game, the side questing and exploration is so enticing, it's so fresh, that it's me who's wanting to see more. I'm not in any rush to run through each nation or each area, complete everything to satisfy my OCD and get back to the story. I'm going through at a very comfortable, leisurely pace, and I've not once felt the sort of burden of I'm not a high enough level to do what I want just yet. So I've not felt the grind, but as I said, I'll get into that just a little bit later. Right now, I do want to talk about probably the main topic of this video really is the side questing in this title, and it's just done right. I'm not much of a wordsmith, and I cannot give justice to how much I mean by saying that it is just done so right. Side quests are interesting, they play out so well, they develop the characters you meet and interact with feel like actual characters and not just a quest marker which is going to spit out some XP at you. I'm actively wanting to hear what their problems are. I want to see how I can interact with them and then choose specifically if I want to save them or help them or not do any of that at all, if I want to rob them blind or just ignore them entirely. Now, the choice of dialogue options, which is the first for the franchise, does seem to have a much bigger effect than I had originally anticipated, as on a few times I've actually failed a side mission before the character has even finished giving it to me, just by the way I responded or my previous actions, and then the way I spoke to the guy was enough for them just to tell me to do one, and I never got the mission. Now, that would normally piss me off, but it was done so organically, and I genuinely didn't see this sort of result coming from my dialogue choices, that it was a welcome surprise. Even though I got no content out of it, it was nice. I enjoyed it. It was a nice little response. It felt real. It made it feel, I don't want to overuse the word, but organic is the key takeaway from this. I do usually cringe when games and marketing and PR and all this, and they come out and they say that choice really matters, like your actions make an impact on the world, all of that shit. It drives me mad, because mostly it boils down to one NPC will either be mad or upset with you, and that you're going to get a lesser reward for whatever the mission was. You'll get less money, or you won't get a certain piece of loot, and you could have got better depending on what your choice was. That was what your choice matters for. And I assumed that was going to be the case here. However, once I had finished the opening prologue and I had left the starting area and the game had fully opened up to me, I was informed that one of the choices I had made in the prologue had had a massive effect on the starting area, to the point where when the choice was sort of given to me, I knew that this was one of them choices that matters. So I made what I thought was the best option for the best outcome, and it was a complete slap in the face. And it's gone so tits up for me that I'm actually avoiding going back to the starting area because I don't want to see the outcome. Them telling me was enough, and I genuinely feel guilty for the interactions I had, the characters I met. I don't want to go back because I know what happened was my fault. It was a real Mass Effect moment, but again, I'm not a wordsmith. That's the only way I can describe it. As soon as I was told, it was oh shit, what would have happened if I did it the other way? It was genuinely, it took me straight back to BioWare's Mass Effect. It was brilliant. And I've had about 3 or 4 of these moments, like genuine shock and just a great response from the choices I've made, for better or for worse in the actual game, but the impact it had on me as a player, outstanding. I loved it.
I'll find these theorems for you.
Come back as soon as you have one.
Working through Greece, leveling up, meeting characters, and just exploring this game, it's the best feature. It is the best feature, and it all comes down to the world building. This feels like Greece. This feels epic in scale. When I'm just walking around the different cities and I'm walking around sort of the richer, more wealthy areas, it's vibrant, it's alive. You go to the poorer areas and you can feel the worry, the desperation, sort of just the background dialogue between the NPCs of those suffering throughout the Spartan and Athenian war. Every time you head out to sea, you feel this epic, grand scale of just how large and vast these oceans are, how deep they go. When the sun's beaming down as you soar through the waves, it's incredible. Gods are confirmed in the game. Achievements detailing the defeat of Medusa and the Minotaur is something I'm extremely excited for. I've not actually made it that far into the game, and I'm not 100% sure how it's going to be implemented. I'm assuming it's going to be in a similar way to how Bayek fought the gods in Origins, when he fought that giant snake and when he went to the field of reeds, or you know what I mean, dream sequences or under hallucinations. That's how they'd be represented. But I'm completely open to the idea of not doing that, having them real, having them live in the Greece that I'm living in. Atlantis is a real location in the game which you can go to and find, and it's confirmed that we have DLC on the way which is set just in Atlantis. So I've got my fingers crossed that these supernatural elements blending into the real world is going to be a reoccurring theme moving forward, and I'm very excited for it. But to summarize what I think of this world so far, I'm at 32 hours and I can easily say this is the best game in the franchise, and it's one of the best open world games I have ever played. It is a genuine experience to play through, and I'm utterly in love with what's been achieved here. It's fucking phenomenal. Like I said at the top of this video, if you're not a fan of Origins, if you played it and it just wasn't for you, then that's fair enough. It doesn't do enough new to sort of bring new fans in, but it develops so much on what Origins was. It goes through with a fine comb, it just fine tunes everything so that it's a much more full and content heavy experience. And for those players who are willing to jump back in, or have always been curious, or didn't pick up Origins and they're interested to see where the Assassin's Creed formula has gone, 100%, here is a perfect place to start. Now, I did mention earlier in the video that I would come across the topic of microtransactions again, and I do think it's worth bringing up. I am doing it at the end of the video, and I hope my explanation will explain why. Now, it's a completely understandable reason, and I can completely see every argument which is pissed off and claiming that the game is built around enticing people into buying microtransactions. My 2 cents is this. I'm one of those players who has to actively sort of avoid microtransactions. I'm an idiot who can happily spend more than I probably should on cosmetics and boosters in any other games. I always fall victim to those more predatory practices that we've seen in different games. You know the ones. But I can honestly say that I've not felt the temptation or have been pushed or sort of coaxed into buying them. I did cringe a bit at the beginning when the game awards you 200 Helix points or whatever, and that's the money equivalent that you can spend in the real life store. They did a similar thing in Origins. I cringed then as well, but like I said, that's literally all I've had so far within the first 32 hours. It's just, and it was more of like a little nod to be like, oh, by the way, there's a store over there. It happened once, and You know, I would love them to be no store. I would absolutely love there to be no store. But considering I've only had one nod to it, they're just letting me know it's over there. Should I want it, I'm more okay with that than I probably should be. So no, I don't think the game is built around microtransactions, and I would say to new people buying the game who are worried that that's all the game is, that you have to spend more money to play it and actually enjoy it. That's not the case. I honestly say that is not the case. What I will fucking say though is, Jesus Christ, how many fucking microtransactions do you want to put in? I know I just sort of came to the defense of them there, saying that my whole point was they're not pushed on you. I am now going to say how many there fucking are. It is tab after tab with different sub-menus for separate tabs. It's fucking ludicrous how much is available here. It's like an actual, it's like a supermarket of microtransactions in a single player game. And although I haven't felt pressured into buying them, and they are kept away from the main menus, it's a store which you actively have to sort of seek out if you want anything that's there. I'm not endorsing them being in a single player game. They shouldn't be in a single player experience at all, especially at the sheer volume that is presented here. And I think it's a massive fucking shame, because Assassin's Creed Odyssey is lining up to be one of those like perfect experiences from a gameplay standpoint. And it's just such a shame that the industry's greed has seeped in and it's created this fucking stain just on the back of this game. It is so frustrating to see how much is here. And it's something that should be brought up. It's something that should be questioned, and it's something that you should have to be curious over when debating whether or not to buy a game like this, because normally a single player game with microtransactions shouldn't exist. Having this supermarket of microtransactions in a single player game, I just don't understand. I don't see why it's fucking needed. Is any of it pushed on you? Are you pressured into buying any of it? From my personal experience as somebody who can honestly say with a little bit of shame in his voice that I'm a bit of a bitch for when microtransactions are pushed onto me, that I will fall for it and I do buy them, I've not felt it here, and I can honestly say that. But just the amount, like, chill out. Chill the fuck out. There are so many. There's so many different cosmetic items that when you would, it just doesn't make sense to buy any, because you don't get to keep them for that long, because the way that the loot system works, you're constantly upgrading. It just makes no sense. It makes no fucking sense. Get microtransactions out of single player games. Seriously, they just should not be there. But enough ranting. Like I say, it's not built around microtransactions. There's just too many. There, final piece done on it. Thank you very much for clicking on the video and making it to the end. You have fed my ego for the day. We do have other videos on this channel. Some are like this and some are not. So feel free to stick around. And if not, then that's fine by us. Have a great day. And again, thanks for watching.